Hello! Welcome to the Redeye stream. From the ashes will rise a revolution. It's a revolution of sorts that you're seeing in rural Oregon right now. You're seeing citizens tired of being looted. On one hand, we have everything we own burned to the ground. On the other, we can't even pick through the ashes. Someone else has done it for us. So all along the highway in rural Oregon has popped up these signs. The message is simple and very precise. You loot, we shoot. Is this a good thing? Perhaps not. Is it necessarily bad to protect your property? Some say yes. I say no, sir. Protecting your property is what Americans fought and died for over generations. This idea that my property is not worth as much as your life when you're trying to burglarize me, when you're trying to sift through the ashes of what is left of my fucking existence and steal it. The very last things we have, or, our house survived, and you break in and steal everything anyway. No, I say you're the leech on society. You're the tick in the dog's back, and you need to be burnt out. Why should normal citizens be burnt out and you left to root through our ashes? Who do you think you are? No, no, no. Lock and load. I'm joined tonight by Doku. I don't know if we're going to go to full 2 hours or not. We'll see. I see Joshua in the chat. We are staying as safe and healthy as we can. I am in a tent. Um, you know, it's pretty dark out here. You could hardly see me, even with the camera on. So it is what it is. This is my existence at this point. It will get better. But the fact remains they want to steal the scraps of what's left. Why should we allow this as a society? Why? Doku, answer me that.
Do you want the hard answer or the easy answer?
Either or.
Uh, the easy answer, they don't give a fuck about you. The hard answer, they never gave a fuck about you. And this is exactly the position that they want you in because they want you just as vulnerable and miserable as their fucking pathetic, leeching ass pieces of shit are. Because they cannot gain anything without destroying. So the fact that you're sitting there, you know, just clinging to whatever you have left, that's what they want so that they can come in and they can steal it from you. There's no one there to protect you. There's no police. And oh my god, the guns are evil. And take away the guns. The police, they're bad. We need to stop the police from using tear gas and rubber bullets. And in the meantime, people are running around who can't even fucking find a car because it's been burnt down to the fucking ground for reasons that we won't get into because I'm sure YouTube won't like it. But no, God forbid that you protect your life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. God forbid that you defend your family against these god awful, forsaken fucking pieces of trash. Because the only damn thing they can fucking do is fucking scrounge around like mangy mutts, pathetic, scummy little pieces of shit trying to fucking get whatever fucking scrap in the ditch that they can find because that's the only thing they ever fucking knew. And the fucking most despicable part about this is that a lot of these individuals came from fucking places of, as they would say, privilege, that they think that, the society is so privileged. Look at this. Look at my privilege. How dare people have this privilege and this wealth and just the depravity. And I went to a college and they told me about how this generational theft of wealth and this, God forbid, it's so terrible. We need to go take it back from the people and be that. No, fuck you. You know, it just stop with your fucking self-righteous soapboxing virtue signaling bullshit. Take it, shove it up where the sun don't fucking shine, and just kindly go fuck yourself. Because if you think I owe you a damn thing in this world, then I hate to break it to you, Buttercup. I don't owe you shit. And if you think I do, well, you're gonna learn the hard way, and it's gonna start with my fist up your fucking ass, and you're gonna fucking learn. Even if it's fucking scraps, those are my scraps, not yours.
Hey,
And
why are you such a angry white male? And how dare you put your belongings above my life? It doesn't matter that I'm trespassing and I'm stealing from you. You have no right to take away my life over your belongings. That's
oh,
just stuff. You could replace that. Don't you have insurance?
oh, but you sweet, sweet, sweet summer child. Let me explain to you how the real world works. I'm not putting the value of my belongings over your life. You're putting the value of your life over my belongings. So I don't care if it's a can of beans or if it's the blanket that I'm keeping my kid warm with at night. That matters to me a lot more than your life does. Because I don't know you, and I don't care to know you, and I sure as flying fuck do not care about your life. But you go ahead and try to take it from me, and watch what the fuck happens. Why do you care about a blanket so much? Why do you care about a can of beans? If you really want it that bad, go take it from the person next door who doesn't care about it, who loves you so much, who wants to cuddle you and coddle you and bring you into this sweet world that is kind and beautiful with the lollipop king and the Candyland kids and the buttercups and the whatevers, the gumdrops and the fairy doodles. Yeah, you can take your fucking fantasy and shove it up your ass. Fuck you. The world ain't fair. The world ain't cheap. And the world sure as fuck ain't kind. And I sure as goddamn hell am not letting you take away any more than you've already taken away from me. And if you try, we'll both end up in the fucking dirt.
You're an asshole. You slipped me out of character. What the fuck is it? What'd you say? A buttercup kid or some shit? What the
Dude, I
fuck?
don't ask me. I don't even know where I came up with that shit.
Yeah, dude, I was trying to play the liberal here. I can't do it. Buttercup kid? What the fuck?
His fucking buttercup kids with their lollipops and their gumdrops.
No, but god damn it. All seriousness, these signs are being raised all across Oregon. The people who had their homes survive have well, ignored the roadblocks and went home. And they are armed and they are ready. And the people doing the looting coming from the cities into the countryside to loot don't realize, like, I don't even think they understand that Oregon is open carry. Okay, because you can see the fear in their eyes when they see somebody with a gun on their hip. Dude, Oregon is an open carry state and always has been. It's in the Oregon Constitution. I mean, do you not even know where you live? They're so stuck in this Portlandia mentality. It is insane.
Well, dude, you gotta keep in mind these are the same idiots who freak out about, oh my God, how dare you come at us and you use tear gas and rubber bullets and batons and pepper spray and you threaten us while at the same time you throw bricks and rocks at people and fucking try to burn down the governor's fucking condominium, like the complex where he fucking lives.
Well,
Uh,
that was the mayor, Mayor Wheeler. But no, if I had my way at this point, I am so angry at the world. I would go out there with Rottweilers, German Shepherds, and Pit Bulls, and water cannons, and I would hose them down. When they're all on the ground, release the dogs, and just stand back and drink a beer.
Well, and dude, that's my point. These people freak out about like, oh my God, we're just throwing rocks at you. We're just lighting fires. We're just looting some buildings. We're just harassing innocent people who have absolutely nothing to do with this whatsoever. And just random people walking down the street. Hey, God forbid that you're wearing a hat that happens to be the wrong color. It doesn't even have to be a MAGA hat. But God forbid you do any of that. But then the police come out and the police use force. Oh my God, they're shooting rubber bullets at us and it hurts. Oh my God, why is it hurt? Why are you doing this? We're just protesting. Yeah, go fuck yourself. What what do you think people are actually gonna fucking do?
Well, no,
Hey,
and I'm not trying to give Antifa ideas, but okay, you don't like rubber bullets. That's fine. Layer up. After you layer up, go well before you layer up, obviously. Freeze some paintballs and take a paintball gun with you. When they light you up with rubber bullets, light them up with frozen paintballs. It's about the same amount of pain. Now, your paintballs are going to bounce off their Kevlar, but you'll make a point.
well, dude, these idiots can barely take a good slap to the fucking face without crying. Let's be real.
Just bring back lynching.
I don't disagree. Like, you know what? Screw it. Yeah, I agree with you. Just get one of the most egregious of these assholes and just string them up, drag them through the fucking streets. Ironically enough, probably through some of the debris that they created themselves, and just be like, nah, let's get the biggest Gregor Clegane looking motherfucker just to drag you through the fucking street, through the debris that you assholes created for yourselves, and then fucking toss you on the sidewalk, spit on your fucking bitching, whining, complaining little goddamn toddler ass corpse, and then take a piss. Do a Nancy Pelosi. Do what they do in her fucking district. Just take a shit right in front of you and just say like, oh, see that right there? Yeah, I would rather eat that. I have more respect for the crap that I just took in front of you than I do for your bloody fucking corpse sitting on the ground, you little fucking anarchistic communist little fucking shit.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ! All I did was mention lynching. Fuck.
Yeah, that's really gross. And with a name like Vlad, I'm surprised you haven't brought up. I don't know, impaling people.
You see, usually that's my first go-to, but the thing is, I can't go for that and sacrifice the poetic irony of lynching.
But
He has a point.
you should hear the fear out of these people though when they see the stories of these signs. I mean, what do you expect? Where I lived, where my house burnt down and we had to run down out of the mountains, um, they are now having shootouts. The looters are shooting it out with the sheriff's department. Like zero fucks given shootouts over what? I mean, I know what's in the ashes in my house. The what I'm gonna find is some arrowheads and hopefully some knives that made it through it. You know what I mean? Like that's about it.
Yeah, like the thing is in my viewpoint, and it's just like my opinion, they're clearly terrorists. Like that behavior of blowing up buildings. Like, did you hear about whenever they actually went up to a police station and then tried to seal the doors in concrete and light the building on fire? That's taking it a step so far to the point of terrorism.
Well, the thing is, they didn't just try to seal the building and then set it on fire. They did it knowing that there were people inside of the building.
That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I guess I skipped that part.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's fucked up. Like trying to burn down a building is one thing. Like I saw someone stupid on Twitter being like, "Oh well, you're racist because you're mobilizing your militia and the police force and the military against buildings that are fighting against people that are dying in the streets." Like, no, dude, you're trying to burn down buildings is one thing. Trying to burn down a building with people inside is something totally different.
Well, first I want to say hi to Dade. How you doing tonight, Dade?
Okay, first off, fuck you, asshole. And I love you very much, and I'm glad you're okay. You had me fucking worried. My daughter Brandy sends her love, and she says she's glad you're okay.
Yeah, the shit was crazy, man. I talked about it last stream, but there is a GoFundMe link down in the description, guys. Any help, even a share of it, would really be appreciated. But
You really did have me worried. I am very glad
what?
you're okay.
What happened?
my house burnt down completely.
His house
my whole
burned down.
neighborhood.
It's
My whole,
gone.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I said what I'm gonna find in the ashes, I meant that literally.
Oh shit.
He's not being sarcastic.
Okay.
He's being 100% serious.
So, given the subject of the stream, is it like it just was an accident or like Antifa faggots?
Okay, the fire that happened that burnt down my house was a downed power line. That was reported by 3 different firemen on the scene. So,
yeah, so that was not kami meha infused bullshit. That was unfortunately the tragic side effect of power infrastructures within cities being run by stupid people.
well, the country, but yeah, and I heard a perspective. Remember that fireman Doku I was talking to you about, who was wigging out about this? I'll go more into his wig out here in a little bit, but he also did bring up a good point. You want to stop a lot of these fires? Bury the power lines. What are we thinking?
Yeah, that's it. Well, you got to remember that when, and I'm not trying to go off subject here. I'm just going to do a little side thing here. That when they originally created power lines and telephone lines, they weren't sure how to do that, and the material has changed since then to where we put stuff underground for a reason. Most notably, fiber optics now exist and all this other fun stuff. But getting back to what Doku said, if you destroy a building, you're mentally retarded in the first place, because you're basically destroying property that is going to not only cost a lot of money to fix, which the money could be taken away from people who need it, but you're going to piss a lot of people off. But when you actively try to, destroy a building, regardless of what the building is, with people in it, you have basically committed an act of terrorism, and you should be treated as such. And everybody's like, well, you can't do that because that's barbaric. And it's like, no, if you want to play in the, and Doku and Mad, you've heard me say this kind of thing before. If you want to play within the little, realm of imagination of Judge Dredd, don't go crying to mama when Judge Dredd comes by and puts your ass in an ISO cube.
Well, yeah, and I was also going to bring up a historical perspective. Doku, in New Orleans, right after the Civil War ended, you had a all black former slave representation in New Orleans, and they were meeting with the Republicans in the courthouse. The pro Southern people of the town showed up, barred the doors, and lit the building on fire. You know what they called it? Terrorism. Why? Because it fucking was, and it still is.
Well, and you want to know why that happened? Is because post assassination, I know uncomfortable history for some people, but post assassination of Abraham Lincoln, when Andrew Johnson got elected, guess what? He wanted all of the elites, the people that he claimed to hate, he wanted to put them back in power, but only if they came groveling and begging for a pardon. You know how Lincoln viewed things? Secession was never legal to begin with. So you are all still technically American citizens after the Union won the war. But then Johnson comes around and he implements, or he provides a system for these people to actually come back and take back power. Why? Not because he gives a flying fuck about you. And hate to break it to you guys, this doesn't just apply to blacks, it applies to whites as well. It was about maintaining the class structure. And that existed throughout the entirety of the Reconstruction era. And if you were going to go against that, then guess what? They might as well lock you up in the burning building along with the rest of the Negroes, because you're no better than them.
Yeah, classism has existed since, we've first had tribes. So this isn't really anything new. And the thing is, Doku, I think all four of us here know that people just love to spout out and claim it's something new because it's a situation out of the realm of their control, and they don't understand how to gain control for themselves to make sure that, I guess the term, the least amount of collateral damage hits them as possible.
Well, so the only new part about any of it is the addition of social media, which I think is a massive fundamental issue here. Like, it's very new. We've never, as a species, been able to communicate on such a level before. And I think that, like most things, it's being handled very irresponsibly.
Well,
I think Six X and Hammer pointed out that the internet is currently still in the wild, wild west stages. And I would agree with him that it doesn't need to go into the post-wild, wild west stages, because if you look at American history, after the wild, wild west, we started fundamentally kicking ourselves in our crotches, and we have yet to stop doing it.
Look, I'm not saying get rid of the wild, wild west stage. All I'm saying is an analysis of the situation that the social media tends to breed greater extremes than just simple word of mouth or even television ever did.
Well, not even just that. Yes, social media does breed extremes, but what you have to realize is that social media also allows the free flow of information detached from the people who would seek to actually control you. So if you wanted to look at something from an objective perspective, and I know that's an overused term, so don't bust my balls too hard.
Shots fired.
But if you wanted to look at things from an objective perspective and be like, well, wait a second, Lincoln was saying this, but then Johnson's doing this. Doesn't that seem to be kind of antithetical to what the whole point actually was? Aren't we just going back to the same thing, but with a different color?
So in my opinion, when it comes to the social media thing, like whenever I said, hey, we're handling it irresponsibly, I failed to be more specific of what I meant by we. I was actually referring to a more species issue, but also I was pointing fingers kind of at Facebook and Twitter and YouTube in their attempts to try and control the flow of information and bend it into their, whatever the fuck, into their narratives. Whenever you start taking away from the wild, wild west stage and you start trying to push it in a very specific direction, I have a problem with that. Like, I don't like whenever I post something that is like a direct quote from, say, I don't know, Biden, and then like that I've seen myself, and then their little air quotes fact checkers tell me I'm wrong somehow, even though it's like I've even posted a video where it was coming out of someone's mouth and they told me that the fact checker said it was incorrect. It's like, that's not true. You're trying to control a narrative here. Like, that's stupid. Let everybody say whatever the fuck they want. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's what I was getting to about the wild, wild west analogy that Stick, Sex, and Hammer brought up, is the fact that as we've got, from historical perspective, the second that we left the wild, wild west era, we did basically clamp down on, control of what could be said by who and all this other crap. And what they want is to have their version of the 1950s post World War II era Americana, to where everything is a certain way by a certain means and a certain standards, but they're in control of it. They don't want people, regardless of your skin tone, regardless of your nationality, regardless of your religious beliefs or whatever, to basically do anything that they want. They want things to be sanitized and very Americana on their terms. And it's to the point that we're now two or three generations removed from that idea, to where our mindset is that ain't gonna happen. And as much as I hate the 1960s by a fucking lot, that was one of the things that actually helped us realize we kind of need to go back to that wild, wild west mentality of not necessarily it's everybody for themselves, but you can't always trust people, but the people that you do trust, you should, still know that, you treat them with a modicum of respect and you'll get it in return. And it's very, and I hate the term black and white because it's very piss poor thinking on humanity's part, but we kind of have to have that, and especially in regards to the internet and social media, because everybody is saying to everybody, "You're fake news," and I'm like, whatever, because whatever and have you whatnot. I mean, we're not us four here. We're not noobs. We know exactly what we're doing on social media and why.
Well, anyway, I got to go. So good luck, Madaj, with your GoFundMe. Actually, if you could you like post that in the chat and I'll share it on Twitter.
Yeah, let me. Or actually, Doku, do you still have it copied? Can you just paste it in the chat?
I don't have it right now, but Vlad, are you in the Discord?
No, I actually went internet blackout for a while, so I'm out of every Discord I was in before.
Okay, well, I can when I get back inside. I'm having a black and mild right now.
Well, you can send me a fucking link to the Discord and all. Oh, is it in the video?
Yeah,
yeah, it's in the description.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just join Discord and do that there. All right.
Oh,
Anyway,
the Discord link isn't. The GoFundMe link is.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I see it right there. All right, cool. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Enjoy your night. I know I'm going to. I'm going to go play video games like a responsible adult with a friend of mine, and yeah, have fun.
All right, dude. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Have a good night. Bye.
Later, bro.
And what's up, Penoid? I see you in the chat. Also, Man Ray of Hope, and yeah, okay, so sure, the battle going on is a class issue. I think it's more of a demographic issue, to be honest, and that's less about class, because a lot of the people living in the country are poor and a lot are not. So there's a mixture of the people that are defending their property, of both rich and poor Oregonians.
Do you on? And I'm not challenging here. I'm just simply asking a question. Do you genuinely believe that it's a population issue, like too many people in X amount of land space? You know how Tommy Lee Jones says in Men in Black, a person is smart, but people are large, panicky animals, and you know it. You honestly think it's that there's too many people in a certain area, and that when somebody goes full potato, it spreads like a virus.
Yeah, kind of. I also believe that the fact that Portland, Eugene, and Springfield control the entire state is ridiculous. You look at a voting demographic map of Oregon, and the entire state is red besides those pockets, and the state is solidly blue every single election. Does anybody think that's a little bit, I don't know, head scratching?
I don't think it's strange. I think it's the fact that in those three areas you have the boomer population who is still trying to wrestle control or keep control out of everybody else's hands, because as the baby boom generation is getting ready to die off, there's going to be a fundamental shift, and millennials will basically try to steamroll over Gen X, and we're basically going to kick them in the crotch. And it's going to be like, well, you should have worn a cup. I'm sorry, we're not going to take your shit. And it's essentially the point of what replaces what. It's like I was telling my kid the other day, and I said, we were having a good laugh at my expense of me getting older and getting ready to be a grandpa and everything. And I'm like, yeah, you think this is funny now, but you just have to remember that I'm the one who's going to, watch my, granddaughter, and then I'm going to be able to send her home. And then you're the one that's going to have to deal with the consequences. And she's like, and she had nothing to say. And it's like, yeah, see, that's exactly how it works. Every generation thinks it's doing something new and interesting, not realizing that generations before have done it in a similar, if minorly different manner. And we see you doing it, and we're not saying anything because we want to see you suffer as we did. And that's what's happening. It's you have those three places run by a certain age demographic, and their mentality is, we're going to fuck everything up on the way out the door and leave you the mess. It's playing the blame game, if nothing else. And cities like that across the world, they're good at it because of who's running what. And they consolidated their power. They've left nothing for anybody else. And now they're just, they're going to leave us with the rest of, to pick up the mess. And a lot of us are getting fucking sick and tired of it. And so they do that to wrest. They try to wrest more control and dominance over us. And people are fighting back, and they don't like it. And well, it's tough shit.
Well, that's not new. Like
No, it's not new. But everybody younger thinks it's new. They think they're the ones trying it first. And it's like, no, we've been here, done this. You just don't get it.
Well, so I'll go back to my previous example. And again, this is nothing new, because this has happened. I could go back 2,000 years and find you an example that is the exact same thing that I'm about to say. But if you look at the black codes that happened right after the Civil War. Okay, well, hey, congratulations, you're free. But as I was saying, Johnson comes in. Okay, well, you're not allowed right to peaceful assembly. You're not allowed the right to the Second Amendment unless you're part of the military. You can't have if you're not part of the military, you can't have the Second Amendment. You're not allowed to own or rent a house inside the city proper. And you're also not allowed to assemble inside the city proper. So, yeah, your First Amendment, that's gone too. And, oh, by the way, if you happen to be employed by a white person, and no, I'm not going with white guilt on this, but if you're employed by a white person, that person is now beholden to anything you choose to do. So guess what? The elites that had to go fucking bending the knee to the Union, that now just fucking took over all of the land that was supposed to be confiscated, quote unquote, but is now just given back. And the people that own it are beholden to the U.S. government because they have to swear loyalty to the U.S. government. Otherwise, they get tried for fucking treason. Well, guess what? You're a white dude, but you're supporting these people? Yeah, guess what? No one cares about the fact that you're white. You're getting fucked too.
Yeah, it's basically we had a big lobster dinner and we're leaving you with the check, bitch, and we're out. It's like, okay, thanks, fucker.
Can I just
Yeah.
Can I just say it's kind of funny? I'm not the one talking about the Civil War this time. Anyway,
Well,
I was talking about the Wild Wild West. Doku keeps bringing up the Civil War because, for very good reason, it's a very poignant turning point in our history, which is still, the ripples are still felt to this day on many levels.
Oh, and the thing is, I hate the idea that everybody keeps bringing up like, oh, well, it's about race. It's about race. Do you not realize that even in the quote, quote, black codes, as a white person, you could still get screwed over by the black codes?
Yeah, they continually make it about race. That's all they do, because they don't know anything else, because they don't want to know anything else. They don't want to take responsibility for anything. They don't want to do anything that's considered adulting.
Because that's the issue, though. It was never fucking about race. It was all about making sure that the status quo maintains the status quo. Because what was not Jefferson Davis, what was Johnson's major goal? He wanted to make sure that the South was going to be a part of the continental United States, so no one would rise up in rebellion. and everything was just going to be hunky-dory, while at the same time consolidating his power. That's what he did. He consolidated power. He thought he might have been doing the right thing. I'm not going to say that he wasn't doing the right thing. In his mind, he probably was. But you know what he was doing? He was maintaining the fucking status quo. That's it. That was his entire fucking goal. And if that meant, guess what? Hey, black people, sorry. White people that fought with black people, sorry. All you Union soldiers, yeah, fuck you too. No, it was all about maintaining the control of government because they didn't want another fucking rebellion. They didn't want another
Okay.
civil war to break out.
Okay, well then let's jump it up to the present again and kind of integrate what Cass is saying here. Aren't they disenfranchising the rural communities then? At least in Oregon and probably Washington and definitely fucking California. I mean, you have people like Pinoid. And I see you in the chat. Yeah, Pinoid. I heard you the other day straight up say that there is no Republicans in Northern California. You are
Probably
so
isn't.
full of shit. No, you guys are so full of shit. You don't even get it. Okay, San Diego is fucking Republican mainly because of the military base. But if you look at the Hispanic communities, they are now voting primarily Republican unless they're here illegally, and then they're going to vote Democrat until they're legal and then switch. Okay, because they have family values, which the Republicans placate to. Whether or not they believe it, I don't fucking know. I'm not a Republican.
Well, real quick to touch on what Cass is saying, demonization of rural communities. Yeah, that was a thing. And again, I hate to go back to the Civil War, but you can look at the idea of crop liens, crop liens and crop division, where people can't afford to own a certain amount of land. They go ahead and divide it amongst them, and they all divide the crop amongst them. And then a part of that crop, because the taxes that are put in place, not by black code, not by the existing Southern government, but by the government that the Union that everybody loves to say freed the slaves.
We did. Okay.
But they still put the system in place where it was so fucking expensive for people to actually own land, and this also applies to white people, not just black people, where you actually take your crop and you use that as collateral to pay for your house, assuming you're even allowed to have one. That's still a form of banking. Why do you think people hate bankers?
And he was referring to a lien. I believe that's spelled L-I-E-N, correct?
Well, no, and the thing is, though, when you have a tiny proportion of the population ruling over the entire area of, let's say, a state, or if you want to go with the federal government, you have the District of Columbia ruling over a landmass that is gigantic. I mean, we're not Russia big, but America is fucking huge. And you have a small group of people running it who, once they're elected, they take off to this magical fucking kingdom on the hill, and they don't give two shits about the fucking people that elected them, except for once every 2 to 4 years.
Two things on that. These aren't. I'm not rebuttaling or rebuking anything you're saying. I'm simply pointing out two things. When you talk about stuff like the three places in Oregon that seem to run roughshod, that's essentially it's exactly what the patriots of this country fought against England for. I can't remember who said it was. The exact saying was something about is it better to have one tyrant 3,000 miles away than 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? Well, that's essentially what that is now. You have your 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away in regards to a place like Oregon. And then secondly, if it wasn't for the fact that the states have their ability to protect themselves against the federal government, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia would be in that position. They believe they're in that position, but they often forget that every single state in the union can basically turn right around on them and say, go fuck yourself, which is why we have the capability of having state representatives on all levels, because without those state representatives on all levels, the District of Columbia is literally just that, a hunk of rock. And Pinoy, thanks for catching me up on the frog things there, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, man, I can't stand like when like it used to be that like the left wing was all about, stopping pollution in our water and our air and things of this nature. And the moment that somebody goes, hey, look, I found water pollution that's causing a problem with, fish and frogs and all these type of things. I go like, oh, man, maybe we should have a conversation about that rather than just dismiss it as a fucking meme. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I get down to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I was just giving you thanks on that because I think you understood where I was coming from. It's like, oh, yeah, it's not like that, amphibians change sexual. Like, no, man, I'm talking about this over here. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just checking in.
Yeah, I got you. Like, it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, some of them do, but some of them don't. You know what I mean? And it's on like a much like bigger level, with the fucking chemical in the water. But I apologize. I don't want to derail you.
Speaking of chemicals in the water, what about Washington D.C. and the topic that we're talking about now?
Well, actually, I was just thinking, are politicians an invasive species?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, this has always been an issue though with like the cities fucking versus the rural areas. Even like in Samaria, this was a goddamn problem. Well, it's always a fucking problem. Like, think about it like this. There are 23 million government employees between state, local, and federal, right? Like, the largest private employer in America is fucking Walmart at like 1.9 million people. Like, maybe we should have a conversation about the amount of fucking government we have on top of us. Maybe that's something we should probably, conversate about a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, this was my point that I was getting at in regards to crop division and crop liens. Because once you put one person in power, and all of these people in power, they got that power because they went and they bent the knee to the fucking government. And and this is why I brought up the black codes, because it's exemplified in this post-Civil War, where it doesn't matter if you're fucking black or white. I'm sorry, it's not a racial issue. I'm not going to touch on that because it's fucking relevant.
You mean like the destitution of the entirety of the South, regardless of racial?
Yeah, yes. Because it wasn't about race. It was the fact of the matter that a lot of the individuals, well, the ones that didn't get killed anyways, who decided to go crawling back to the Union after the South got defeated and got put back in positions of power a few months later, decided that they were going to pass certain types of laws where, well, you're going to have this tax, you're going to have that tax, you're going to do this. Nobody could live just a normal life without having to pay, you got to pay the ferryman, you got to pay the tax, death and taxes, death and what do they call it, Pino? You know what I'm talking about. The death and debt paradigm. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is something I've been talking about a lot recently, like especially because of the fact that the vast majority of these shootings and these problems are going on in deindustrialized areas. And me as a libertarian, I'm going like, well, instead of like fucking shooting the protesters and turning into like fascists and all this type of shit, why don't we try like getting rid of the taxes that are on top of these fucking people? So like maybe like the property owners can stay in their fucking homes. You know what I mean? Or like fucking get rid of some of the regulations and things that are stopping them from opening businesses. Like maybe we could stand here and like help some individuals out. I know in like places, you know what I mean, where like I live right now, if you want to like rebuild your bathroom, you know what I mean? Like you have to pull a separate permit at $50 a pop for a bathtub, a sink, a toilet, and all of them had to be vented out completely to the ceiling or completely to the roof by themselves. You know what I mean? And like, it's just a massive amount of motherfucking bullshit that's involved in, dealing with the goddamn government. And if you want to start a business, you have to go and get 18 different fucking regulators to fucking okay it. Like maybe this is part of the goddamn problem. You know what I mean? That's where I get down to.
on this is what I wanted to bring up, because I hate to break it to you guys, and I know this might rattle some feelings, but guess what? Post Civil War, when all of these policies were put in place, where unless you're part of the military, you're not allowed to have a weapon. Unless you're a certain person, unless you're a certain class, you're not allowed to congregate
Yeah.
within the town.
Well, I mean, they extended that on further in the 1930s and went, "Hey, we're going to outlaw cocaine because what how did they put it? Oh my god, they said the and I quote them from the 30s YouTube. This is not a personal belief. A Negro would do cocaine and rape a white woman.
Oh
That's
boy.
how they framed it in the South and outlawed cocaine. You
Well,
had to have a doctor's prescription.
Well, and Dodge, that comes later, because the foundation for that, and this is where they really get you, is where if you wanted, and granted, remember, you were not allowed to own or rent a house as a person of color, but if you were going to be in the town, you were also beholden to your employer, who had to be a white person who was an owner of land or used to own slaves, par what the black code was. So guess what? White people, you ain't off the hook either. You either fall in line or you're fucked just as much as the next person, regardless of their skin color.
That's
They-
why I don't see the argument for demographics, because all the same, what people in power just want all the same thing. It means put you back in their place, or else we're going to do something about it. Or utilizing people who have no service in society. Most of the writers who tend to have no jobs or provide any service outside of, I don't know, intentionally burning a few forests and fucking people's lives up. Because
and
that's a useful thing.
That's my whole point. This was not an exclusive thing to black people. Yeah, they were the lowest rung of society at the time when this was written, but it did not exclude white people. It just depended on where you stacked up in the class of things. So if you had enough money, well, yeah, you might have some people who work for you and they happen to be people of color. But if you decide that you want to start treating them equally, or, and maybe they do something and the people who run the town don't like it, this is where we get to the strange demographic that we see even today, where the rural areas are still beholden to the urban areas. Guess what? The urban areas are going to come for your ass, and they're going to start milking you for more money too. Because guess what? They're not producing; they're legislating, and it's always been that way.
It's more like they don't produce any of the raw resources to keep up necessity. They just produce a bunch of stuff that you can theoretically go without, or usually technology. Even then, like, technology is getting to the point where you don't really need a city to produce that.
Well, the thing is, a city even back post Civil War, a city cannot sustain itself without a heavy rural community supporting it. Mm-hmm. It's always been that way, and it's the same thing here. It's the same thing with the example that I'm using. It doesn't necessarily matter if you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, as long as you're of a certain class demographic. A large urban population cannot support and sustain itself without the support of a rural population. And to have the support of that rural population, you need to have a strong legislative body that can use force to make sure that that outlying group not only stays in its lane, but supports the urban population. That's why you see in the technological age, these urban population centers are going to absolute crap because they are so damn expensive to maintain. They can't regulate themselves. They can't legislate themselves. And they're so incredibly dependent on people who can actually fucking do shit.
Yeah, so it's also a game of trying to utilize resources where they probably don't have any. For example, does Google or something like Silicon Valley need millions of people to maintain their fucking technology jobs? Not really. It's always a small population of relative people who have the time and resources to learn those particular traits. So oftentimes you just have a fucking population that doesn't produce anything because realistically there's not enough jobs to go around because they're not required.
Well, then where is
How would
this? Well, then where is this institutionalized racism they keep talking about? If it's really a class issue.
Well, it's institutionalized sexism. It's not institutionalized racism, right? Think about it. Think about it like this, right? All right. So back in like the 1890s and 1900s, like all these black people moved up from the South into like fucking Chicago and Ohio and Pittsburgh and New Jersey, right, to work at all these plants. And, you know, they had good middle class fucking jobs that, you know, I mean, paid them half decent fucking wages and shit. And they built middle class fucking families off of it. And then in the 1970s and 80s, all these jobs left. And instead of like, you know, I mean, giving the money to the men who lost the jobs, they gave it to the women and told them, if you kick your man out, we'll give you more money.
Well,
And-
even then,
okay.
even then, Pinoy, that started even still back in the pre-Civil War era, because all the men and the brothers, the sons, they all got sold off. And so what happened post-Civil War, they were trying to figure out where the hell everybody went. And so when you saw a lot of specifically black people moving around, especially into the North and into other areas of the South, they were trying to actually find where their family members were. And unfortunately, like what happens in most warfare, records are lost. And so
Well,
you end up with a bunch of people completely displaced, and there's no family structure anymore. And
What the
that
fuck-
still
what
exists
the
to this
fuck
day.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh no, it's true, dude. You
Like,
want to
yo,
know
what
why?
the fuck are you talking about? I'm talking about legitimately something that happened recently, right? You know, they recently stood here and fucking went door to door in black neighborhoods and poor white neighborhoods and told the women, we will give you free money because your man's out of goddamn work, and we'll give you more if you throw your man out of the fucking house. And then they go,
Jesus.
oh, it's fucking racism.
Oh no, dude, that's just the fucking welfare state. That doesn't matter about fucking race at all. And if you think it does, like, no, dude, that's
know, but
yeah,
they-
that's
yo, but
that's just
they
fucking
think-
welfare.
I know, but they think it's racism.
Well, it's
Oh,
easy
no,
to
that-
sit there and blame it on something rather than thinking in terms of nuance of how they actually seem to call their resources in.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking about a cultural aspect of things as to why there is a culture of why the typical black family and the typical white family in America is, you know, usually disjointed. That's been going on for a long fucking time. But for what you're talking about, Peanut, no, dude, that's just the welfare state, dude. The welfare state
yeah.
wants you.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, yo, like, think about all the feral males that they created, right? And think about the fact that, like, literally, like, yo, what you did was you brought a man with a gun and the badge into a conversation about fucking civil matters between a husband and a wife.
Mhm.
What did you think was going to happen?
See, the thing about this as well, you have to, again, I like to argue in terms of resources, because when you think about it in terms of how these people think, you end up understanding that, for example, like, you know, the city's massive population, there's very few of that population ever gets utilized for jobs, because most of the jobs they're looking for tend to usually be very specialized type of jobs. They have to be like a kid in training to ever get anywhere in that field, or you had to spend a ridiculous amount of time that the average person is incapable of, when the average person is concerned about stabilizing their average existence throughout the day. For example, if you live in Cal, it's a massive problem here because most of the cities are obsessed with tech jobs. Most people don't have the time to sit on the computer all day learning code in order to get those type of jobs. So if you're not specializing on something like tech or something similar, well, you're shed of luck for most job opportunities. They don't care. And those who are constantly spit out anyway from the system once they're used
Well,
up.
I mean, like, yeah, but like, there's always jobs as like plumbers and fucking construction workers and things as fucking, you know, like fucking sewer workers and garbage men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, the thing is, those aren't seen as fucking glamorous and they're hard. You know what I mean? So therefore, like, a lot of people don't fucking go into them. You know, and the
Of
fact
course,
that, like,
yeah.
out in the West Coast, the Mexicans do a lot of this fucking shit, and they end up driving down the wages to the point where it's not viable for most individuals to like really stand here and go, I'm gonna go through a whole apprenticeship to get it done, when we have already workers coming over the border who are fucking paying for it. You know, that's a bit of a fucking issue.
Yeah, actually, the problem with states like California is that they prioritize and their specialized things so much that things like plumbers are always in short supply because they fundamentally put no resources in anything else, even essentials, to the point where the state is collapsing upon itself over there. And it's the same with like New York and shit too. If you notice that, it's a game of them prioritizing and not always the best places, and then they chew up and spit out the people who do. I get horror stories about programmers.
New York's really, really good about the fucking trades and shit. Like they are fucking heavy duty into the trains, and that's only because like the unions have such a high reach into the fucking government and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you know, they're all interconnected and whatnot. Sorry, Matt was gonna say.
Yeah, speaking of New York, on the COVID front, the Macy's Day Parade, this will be the 90th year in a row. This year will be a virtual parade. That's right, folks. We get holograms and what, like the Democratic convention? I mean, what are they even doing anymore?
Yeah,
like I got
real. Yes,
I got a bit of big news. They went from 1% to 2% to 5% of all apartments in Brooklyn are now sitting empty. That is 15,000 units, and they've lost $384 billion in wealth in New York City alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Yeah, this is why I also think automation is a very interesting argument, because if it goes in the way that people think it will, and it kind of will, I wouldn't be surprised if the city becomes obsolete as a concept. It kind of already is to an extent with what internet is developing into.
Well, I mean, like you're going to end up having cities become like the only option for a lot of individuals who have no fucking skills to be able to provide for themselves.
Yeah. Which is going to be a clusterfuck, because from where I'm from, you know, it's funny watching the state get so insane about the production sections of the state. In this case, the farming towns and communities and rural places that keep these cities alive, and will still proceed to fuck up those communities in the process to feed some kind of goal. Can only imagine how clusterfuck it all must be when eventually those production quotas for food never gets met, which is probably going to happen pretty soon with the state of things right now. So much shit's getting burned up. Rural communities are being so fucked right now.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you what, rural communities, like legit, they're in way better shape than the fucking cities are, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I should know from experience. I have no debate there. I do not like city life for a reason.
It's like, I feel you. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't live in the goddamn city. Like, yo, fuck that shit. I got the fuck out of Dodge a while back.
Dave donates $10 to super chat. Here's $10. It's not much, but it's something. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. I did plan on this being a fairly short stream tonight, but any other news you guys want to talk about? I got something saved for tomorrow that has to do with China. They were talking a little shit today.
I know y'all need to go check out my stream I just did on responding to an Antifa guy on YouTube. It's most definitely an interesting time. Legit. And me and Excel are going to start doing streams again. And I mean, fucking, because we have decided that, like, yo, we need to fight against motherfuckers turning into fascist, like anti-Jewish individuals. Like, I feel like that might be important, you know what I mean, to like bring economics into the conversation and do math.
There's a big anti-Semitic movement going on right now that I didn't hear about.
Yes. Everybody is blaming the Jews. You know what I mean, because that's what dumb white people do. And Atema. Like the reason why people congregate into fucking cities is because, you know, they it's the easiest way to disseminate motherfucking fucking goods and services and things of this nature, but it ultimately turns into a fucking shit show on a regular basis. because human beings end up not being able to provide for themselves, and we're not very good at living amongst each other. So, like, you know, it's always a bit of an issue.
If technology makes the city obsolete, it's going to be very interesting to see how many people will try to adapt to that, especially since, like, an automized economy is usually around uber amounts of specialization, and if most people can only live by manual labor, that's going to be a kind of a clusterfuck indeed.
Well, not just that, but how about this one here, right? People stop having kids in cities, right? Because kids are a luxury in a city. Like on a farm, kids are, you know, I mean, like helpful because they help you like bring the crops in and move animals and things of this nature. They're you know, I mean, like
kind of expected.
Yeah,
they're in rural communities.
Well, no, like they're helpful in rural communities because, like, you know, you have 3 kids in a rural community, like you have 3 more people who can help you, you know, I mean, do chores around the fucking farm and shit and grow more stuff and be more productive. But in the city, having 3 kids in the 2-bedroom is a luxury. So, like, it's a bit of a fucking issue. And on top of that, humans always find a way to work. Automation won't replace them. I don't really give a fuck about what you say. Like, you know, the last time we had automation, it went from, you know, I mean, horses and carriages into like motorized cars. We replaced the horse. Now we're replacing the human. That might be a bit of a fucking problem.
Yeah, the problem isn't about that. I think the problem is also just people in general and how they tend to work with things. Like I said, most people will never have what it takes to become a scientist, a general, a programmer, those particular specializations that require a bunch of different things, especially more or less youth, where you spend your youth learning these things, or you have inherent talents in them. If you're just a person who works under labor, you're probably never going to get anywhere in an automized fucking, you know, economy.
Well, here's the problem, and this will be my last little bit, and I'm gonna end it here soon. I'll let you guys respond. But if you ended up in an economy where everybody had to have a specialty, the ones without, you would have to institute UBI. So the commies would win in that scenario, right? Because without universal basic income, then the people that cannot learn those skills, what are you going to do with them? I mean, I know what Hitler would do with them, but that's not what you do with them.
Well, yeah, most certainly. You're not going to advocate for them to become poor and starvation. So eventually, the commies will get what they want.
No, I have a better idea. I have a much better idea. It's really fucking easy. All you got to do is eliminate property tax, eliminate zoning laws, eliminate building permits, eliminate child support, and let these fucking people go. And, you know, I mean, they will farm land and grow shit for themselves.
Yeah, that's assuming they don't become like some like Antifa communists with no jobs in the process.
Well, I feel you, but I'm talking about like you already have the problem of like all these towns who are like losing their industries and things of this nature, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like fucking all you have to do is like, you know, eliminate property tax so people can stay in their homes and they don't have to like walk away from it. You know what I mean? After they already paid for it because they can't sell it because there's no jobs. You just like start them back over in the beginning of the economic scale. You know, you go from agrarian to industrial to fucking service sector. You start them over at agrarian. It's that simple.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. We'll end on that note. Thank you, Cass. It's been a while. Thank you for joining. And Pinoid, always a pleasure, especially when I called you out by name. I knew you would respond.
I didn't even hear you, but legit, you know what I'm saying? Like I always like coming on stream with you.
All right. Everybody in the chat and who watches this later, the GoFundMe is down in the description. If you get at least give it a share, that would be cool.
Mad Dodge, 1 second. Like, yo, fucking Atema, yes, they should. You know what I mean? And it's a she should get a dude to help her be a fucking subsistence farmer. Because I don't know if you know this or not, like a farming life is pretty fucking awesome. Like it's not like it's a bad life. It's pretty cool.
No, it's not. There's a lot you can do with it if you're willing to put the time and effort into it.
Yeah, it's fucking great. It's like it's freeing. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead, end your stream. I apologize. I just wanted to respond to that.
Oh, no, and I agree with that actually also. I mean, if you're farming, then you could usually you would have animals as well. So you could have horses, you could do whatever else on the property.
Yeah.
A lot of the farmers I knew growing up, all their kids had fucking four-wheelers and shit. Yeah, they
Yeah.
used them in the field, but yeah, that's not all the only reason they used them.
It's pretty much the reason why everything in our economy right now is becoming more self-taught or more resources with lower income needed to actually learn stuff, because we're already moving into that stage of the economy where everyone has to find a reason to specialize for something before it's too late for them in the future. So it's already happening as we speak. People have to transition to something.
Yeah,
And Atema, like, you do realize I said you take away the taxes and you get to keep what you have.
Yeah, if it was serfdom, you would basically have very little rights, and you would have these high on taxes for your existence and how you pay for it, or else they'd probably take your crops without paying compensation back or burn your shit. Either
Does
or.
not sound like serfdom at all. That sounds like freedom. It's like half the reason the homeless people they're still sleeping in the streets is because we refuse to let them go into the forest and, you know what I'm saying, build their own shit. And when we do, we fucking burn their fucking cabins down that they fucking build. Like, it's so dumb.
you're right. Every time I see a homeless person build a camp, I grab my my war horse, and I ride in it fully armored and take these fuckers out.
Legit, like, yo, that's what game commission people do, though. Like, they find their little fucking hideouts and tents and cabins and shit, and they fucking bulldoze it, or they fucking come in and they like fucking, run them out with fucking flare guns or fire or whatever, and they get one of them like fucking, Elon Musk fucking not a flamethrower things and torch the place. Like, yo, no, like, we should fucking, yeah, like, hell yes, if you want to live off the fucking land and stay game lands and just chill, and survive for yourself, and have at it. Like, I don't fucking care. Yo, Atema just wants to argue with me. Legit.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to end the stream, woman.
You need a stream with just Tom and her arguing for an hour. That would be great.
Yo, dude, did I tell you what happened the other day with this fucking broad?
Oh boy, well.
Mad Dog, yo, check this. I went over to Irate stream and I called her fucking scatterbrained, and legit on a fucking stream about motherfucking about fucking how social justice warriors silence people. They took my wrench and timed me out.
Oh, I was kidding, Tema. Come on now, you know better than that. But we are gonna wrap it up. So good night, everybody. Hey, I've seen a lot of help and had a lot of words of encouragement. I thank all of you. I appreciate it. And we'll be back on the air tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit about China, dolphins, the menace they are, and more. Good night. Good luck. And we're out of here.